Coming up on the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast, we continue comprehensive coverage of coronavirus in Indiana. We'll hear about what the state and companies, including Roche, Eli Lilly, and Hotel Tango, are doing to fight the outbreak. We spotlight a new model for dental insurance. The Innovators with Dr. K returns. A coffeehouse with a unique purpose expands. Is e-learning the future of education? And our insiders take on the top stories of the week. Welcome to the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast. I'm Andy Ober. A new test for COVID-19 approved by the Trump administration is designed to get results in just a few hours. It was developed and manufactured by Roche Diagnostics, whose North American headquarters is in Indianapolis. Senior Vice President Randy Pritchard joined Inside Indiana Business host Gary Dick with more.
We're a little bit further away than we are typically to keep our social distancing here, but we appreciate you coming in. Amazing story on how this came together so quickly in terms of the test kits, and Roche Diagnostics here in Indianapolis serving as the distribution hub, if you will. Talk about the normal process for these test kits are developed through and what you did in this case here.
Well, in most situations, our standard process from identification of a virus that we'd like to have a test for up to submission and then approval by FDA can be anywhere from an 18 to a 24-month process. In this situation, thanks to incredibly tight alignment with our research and development team, Food and Drug Administration, and many other officials, we were actually able to do that in 6 weeks, from the identification of the sequence of this virus to having emergency use clearance for this test. Wow,
amazing. And so many pieces and parts of the company came together to do this, from R&D, distribution here. I mean, this was a national effort, right?
Really a national and international effort, right? Our scientists in California is our international center of excellence for PCR testing, and we're able to develop this kit and pull that together. Manufacturing on the East Coast. The instruments that actually run the test are designed and developed in Switzerland. The disposables from other locations. So really an incredible effort to bring this together in 6 weeks to have a product here ready to ship from the warehouse.
And this is a lot of product too, 400,000 per week now going forward,
yes.
Right?
So last Friday we started shipping our first kits, had those out early this week. We actually have just now have the second batch of 400,000. Those are shipping out today. So on a weekly basis, we'll be delivering about 400,000 tests to lab across the United States.
Yeah, this is a piece of the business, but also I would assume that for Roche Diagnostics and the workers there maybe is a bit of pride in being able to put something like this together in such a quick timeline.
It's tremendous, right? I mean, that's what we do. And it's what we're very proud of. It's, every day our job has an impact on patients, the healthcare providers who serve them. And so to be able to do something like this, we all see what's going on, here in the United States and across the globe. Right. And to be able to bring a solution forward like this, it's certainly a tremendous amount of pride, but also we know there's still a lot of work to do.
And I think it underscores, too, the substantial footprint that Roche Diagnostics has here in Indianapolis, your U.S. headquarters for diagnostics here, 3,000 employees.
Absolutely. No, this is our commercial hub for North America. And 3,000 people dedicated every day to helping patients, doing now what patients need next is what we talk about.
And at the same time, you, like other companies, are dealing and wanting to provide the best environment for your employees during the pandemic, and that's no small task.
No, certainly not. We've obviously been following this since the very beginning. And as appropriate, have implemented different levels of our pandemic plan. We are, of course, now at our red level. So we are at a point now on the campus where it's essential personnel only. Campus is locked, other than those people that are there, right? Obviously, our folks in manufacturing to keep our products coming out, distribution, so we keep shipping them, and the bare bones infrastructure that they need to be able to keep delivering.
Well, a major effort by Roche Diagnostics here in Indianapolis as a part of this attack on the pandemic. Randy Pritchard, Senior Vice President at Roche, thanks for joining us. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
Meantime, Indianapolis-based Eli Lilly is also trying to do its part to fight the outbreak. The company is partnering with the Indiana State Department of Health and the FDA on the effort. Business of Health reporter Kylie Valletta has more on that story.
Lilly executives say the pharmaceutical giant's labs that are typically dedicated to internal experiments are being repurposed to help the Indiana State Department of Health analyze tests for COVID-19, up to 2,000 per day with turnaround in 4 to 6 hours. The organizations say this is truly unique nationwide. It's the only large public-private partnership for COVID testing that they're aware of. Analyzing tests from healthcare facilities is the top priority, such as hospitals, ERs, and nursing homes. Lilly is also planning to pilot drive-through testing for the public in the coming days on Lilly property. One note from Lilly's leaders: Lilly makes insulin here in Indianapolis, and it is still making it during this health crisis. Insulin is a life-sustaining drug for people with diabetes, and Lilly says it will continue to provide an uninterrupted supply, so there is no need to buy ahead. And that's a message they wanted to get out to the public.
Yeah, amazing. From Roche Diagnostics to Lilly, really pulling out all the stops. This is going to be a big jump.
Huge jump.
In testing, right?
Yes, the Indiana State Department of Health, up until this point, they've done over 200 tests that they've analyzed. Lilly is going to be able to take that up to 2,000 per day once they reach full capacity. One note, though, that all depends on having access to reagents, which are chemical supplies they need to perform these tests, and those are in high demand right now.
And Lilly, this is a cost Lilly say that the company is bearing, right?
Correct.
No cost
They're
elsewhere.
doing this for free. They're not taking any funding from government agencies, hospitals, patients, insurance companies. They say they just want to help their Indiana home.
All right, Kylie, thanks. Great information. Thanks for joining us.
With companies like Roche and Lilly on the front lines, what are other Indiana businesses doing? For Central Indiana's Hotel Tango distillery, it's creating a new hand cleaner. Inside Indiana business reporter Mary Rachel Redmond has that story.
Hotel Tango Distillery is mixing up a new cocktail.
And we knew that there was a need for hand sanitizer as there's a shortage because of the coronavirus.
So founder Travis Barnes has temporarily converted his distilling operation into a production line for the suddenly hard to find hand disinfectant.
We already had the equipment and some of the materials to put it together, so that was really the catalyst for how we got this product out.
The team at Hotel Tango tells me they're donating their entire first batch of these hand sanitizers to organizations in need. And demand for the hand cleaner has already reached beyond state lines.
We've gotten requests as far away as Florida, California. Troops overseas have requested it, so we're trying to fill the gaps wherever we can.
Once we get this initial batch out of the 2,000 bottles that we've already committed to organizations in Indiana, then we are going to reevaluate and see what we can do. If we can get more bottles in from companies in Indiana, we would love to send some donations outside of the state.
And perhaps most importantly, given these uncertain times, Hotel Tango's temporary hand sanitizer production has allowed the distillery to give its staff the opportunity to collect a paycheck.
This has opened up a way for us to move those employees into this production facility that we're opening up next door to label, bottle, put into boxes, all these hand cleaners that we're producing. So it's another way of being able to pay those employees that currently can't do the job that they were originally hired for.
Mary Rachel Redmond, Inside Indiana Business.
Remember, you can catch Inside Indiana Business Television on stations throughout the state every weekend. Head to InsideIndianaBusiness.com to check listings. Still to come, a different type of dental insurance, and we profile a fast-growing e-commerce printing business. But first, new Noblesville Mayor Chris Jensen focused his first State of the City address on what he calls Noblesville's next chapter. He took the opportunity to unveil new economic development projects in the city as well. Jensen joined us with details.
First of all, the coronavirus situation impacting all of us, cities, towns, businesses, you name it. From a Noblesville perspective, what's been your focus with the coronavirus?
Surely, it's been front of mind for any local leader, any state leader. Our goal is to continue to listen to those public health experts at the state level with the state health department, Dr. Box, and here in Hamilton County, the local health department. Heeding their guidance, we went ahead and allowed some folks to work from home, as many businesses and government unit has done. But our goal is to keep City Hall open and reinforce the fact that our public safety folks, our frontline defenders of police and fire, are there ready to serve citizens as usual while maintaining our good social distance and other good practices. You're brand new in office. Certainly didn't expect to be facing this challenge. No, Mayor Ditzer didn't leave this in the transition report. That's right. Yeah. But there is a lot going on beyond this, to be sure, in Noblesville. Noblesville's next chapter is really what you've been focusing on, your recent State of the City address. You talked about that. Give us a kind of a thumbnail on Noblesville's next chapter. Absolutely. Well, Noblesville is the historic county seat of Hamilton County. So we're now looking, though, that what does our future look like? How do we continue to preserve what is great about Noblesville, our historic downtown, but how do we also look to enhance it? How do we look at new ways to structure our economic development in our city? How do we focus on public safety and really transforming how we tackle public safety in the city? How do we invest in wise ways with our infrastructure to enhance our north to south mobility, our east to west mobility? How do we talk about workforce development in all new ways? So that's all a big focus of our next chapter.
And physically changing with a number of pretty cool developments. One of them, the lofts at 10th, a $7.7 million project.
Yeah, what we realized as we started talking with folks is that we really lacked for millennial and empty nester baby boomer housing in our downtown. So many folks now, millennials and empty nesters want the same thing. They want that 2-bedroom apartment or condo that is walkable to our downtown. Folks want that urban feel, but in a suburban community. So we're going to capture that with the lofts on 10th, also with 11th in downtown.
And that's under construction
Under
now,
construction
right?
Currently. So we'll increase a lot of our walkability and our livability in downtown Noblesville.
We talk a lot about that, but that's something that's very important, is this quality of place, connectivity, walkability, all very important to keep talent.
People want to live, work, and play in the same community. And honestly, Gary, with a 3% unemployment rate, nowadays companies are going to locate where people want to be. So we have to be that desirable community where folks can live, can walk to work, can walk to restaurants, all in the same central hub.
Yep. Obviously, in terms of economic development, Indiana has been on a roll from an economic development standpoint. An India-based company, Panacea, has announced plans for major investment there in Noblesville and lots of jobs as well.
We're excited. We have great partnership at the state with the IEDC, with Governor Holcomb, went on a trade mission this fall to India, teed really up this opportunity for us. We competed against 15 different sites in the state, as well as sites in Wisconsin and Michigan. Panacea is going to be a $12 million investment. It's a medical diagnostic, cancer diagnostic company, 65 jobs, new to the city of Noblesville, average wage of $80,000 a year plus benefits, which is a huge boost to our local economy, a $12 million investment.
Yeah, all kinds of jobs that lots of communities are after. And that leads to workforce. You touched on it a moment ago, Ivy Tech Community College in the community there. But as you look at workforce and the ability to produce the kinds of workers these companies need.
Gary, we have to do it differently than we did years ago. With such a low unemployment rate now, we have to make sure that we have different career paths for our young adults in Noblesville, and also then training for our existing workforce. If they want to skill up their workforce or skill up their individual skills, we have those opportunities. We have Ivy Tech. We have a state-of-the-art internship program with Noblesville High School and team. So we have to look at economic development completely different, and we're going to lead the way in Noblesville.
Lots going on, to say the least, in Noblesville, specifically Hamilton County in general as well. Mayor Chris Jensen, Mayor, great to have you here. Look forward to having you on many times in the future.
Great. Thanks, Gary. Appreciate it.
Later in the podcast, the Innovators with Dr. K and a coffeehouse with a deeper purpose. But now, Plan Forward works with dentists to create in-house membership insurance plans. The platform is designed to help small business owners, entrepreneurs, retirees, and others who may not have dental insurance. Founder Megan Lohman came in studio to talk about her company.
Plan Forward next month, I guess, will be 2 years old, so a young company that's gaining traction. Talk about how Plan Forward came about. How did it all start?
I worked with my co-founder, Jason Flanagan, in his practice up in Westfield, Indiana, and it was in 2013 when healthcare was changing, and we really had a need with a lot of uninsured patients who were confused by the options out there. We had a need to create an alternative solution. So that's really where the idea started, and with the appetite for this alternative solution, the plan just grew and it became difficult to manage. So that's where we determined that a software platform was well suited to handle it.
Really a significant portion of the population, adult population, does not have dental insurance, right?
That's correct. 33% of the adult population in the United States is dentally uninsured. Our senior citizens on Medicare, the gig economy, entrepreneurs, small business owners,
This is a technology solution to that, and I know Plan Forward's been nominated, I think, for a couple of Mira awards, so you're getting some attention from the industry as well. But talk about Plan Forward, the software you sell directly to dentists. How does it work?
We do. We work directly with dentists to create a customized plan specifically to their practice. It's branded with their practice name, their information, their pricing and terms. We deliver the materials and do a team training so their team can advocate for their plan, and ultimately the software allows them to confidently grow this plan.
What do you attribute the traction, the success? I know the times we're living in now with the coronavirus, that really adds to this and maybe the interest of dentists in getting the software.
It does. I mean, our clients who have well-established membership plans have some peace of mind that they still have revenue coming in right now when many of their doors are closed to patients. And also those prospects are reaching out. We have had inquiries from everywhere across the country using this downtime to educate themselves on the value of these membership plans for their practice.
And the plan forward, the software, you're not just selling to customers in Indiana, you're growing, right?
That's correct. We are fortunate that we are the preferred vendor of the Indiana Dental Association. So they evaluated multiple vendors, and we are preferred by the IDA, but we are currently operating in 6 states.
Okay, and about to come out with version 2,
That's right. We're working hard on launching version 2 of our software platform that'll go live next month. We're really excited about that. And just, gaining traction every day. It's thriving.
Plan Forward is a technology solution, a software that is addressing some real needs in the dental community. Megan Lohman, the founder of Plan Forward, appreciate you being here, and we look forward to following your growth.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Still to come, a coffee house focused on mental health is growing, and we look at the growing necessity of distance education. But first, PFL is a marketing technology company that provides sales enablement and marketing automation solutions along with printing and mailing services. The company, which has headquarters in Montana and Indianapolis, is at 12,000 customers and growing. Vice President Steve Brennan joined Don Korotko for the Innovators with Dr. K.
In your own words, so what is PFL, and then what do the letters stand for, PFL?
Yeah, PFL is printing for less.
Okay.
So we did start as an e-commerce printer in Livingston, Montana.
Okay.
We now are a full-blown marketing technology company, providing sales enablement and marketing automation solutions for our customers here in town in an integrated format. So through integrations through Salesforce and Marketo and Eloqua to help them work with their marketing automation platforms and be super effective and have radical results.
So the idea came about through the printing industry first, right? And then
Correct. Yeah, so what happened there was we got called on site to a customer about 6 years ago to help them with the direct mail campaign.
Right.
And as we were going through the process of filtering out what that was going to look like, it became obvious to us that through combining direct mail and marketing technology, we could combine those two together. And have an orchestrated approach and drive, again, results for our customers that they've never seen before.
And what's the unique innovation as part of your whole concept?
Yeah, the unique innovation is what we call the orchestration. So we want to make sure that people understand, and I think businesses understand direct mail can be impactful, but we also want to work with their digital marketing campaigns that they have going on. So it's the orchestration of those. When do you send an email? When do you send a display ad? When do you use social or display media that's out there? And then when do you incorporate a tactile touch like we have in front of us here that would go to someone's desk and set them apart? Because we're all inundated, Dr. K, as you know, with digital ads.
Right.
All the time. You go to the gas station. I get on my elevator at Salesforce Tower. There's digital ads that are in there.
Exactly.
So really, what we're looking to do is, if the average American gets between 7,000 and 10,000 ads a day presented to them, how do our customers separate themselves by using tactile marketing automation that gets a message across and is not just a blast mail?
That's powerful. So the current market for this innovation, what have you got as your market?
Yeah, we have some of the fastest growing brands and companies in the nation right now, really worldwide, that are using us. So we're working with customers that are looking at 20% plus ROI to get this automation going. And get these brands get these packages in front of their potential prospects. So yeah, we're looking for those high growth companies that are looking to separate themselves and make sure that they send something that's personalized and relevant and timely. And it means something when that person opens it up, and then they can respond. There can be a call to action in there.
And I understand during this pandemic, you guys are in talks to help the community a little bit. Is that right?
Yeah, so we just talked briefly before the show that IPS has approached us And we're looking to send school kits to the 30,000 plus students that are out of school right now. So again, direct mail can be used in many ways, but again, it's going to be personalized and orchestrated, right? And used in a way that is relevant to the students. So I'm getting 4th grade learning material and it says, "Dear Johnny," you know, from Mrs. Red.
Sure. Your capital funding status with, you know, actual funding for your company now?
Yeah, so our latest funding round was just with Goldman Sachs. It was great to partner with a company like Goldman and the partners that they have brought in. So we continue to grow the business through again partnerships with that big investment round.
Besides the pandemic, what are the challenges you foresee going forward?
Yeah, so I think, Doctor, the biggest challenge that we have is business leaders understanding how to use direct mail in an orchestrated approach.
Right.
A lot of what we see out there in the marketplace, people are blasting out, you know, just sending stuff.
Right.
Sending stuff doesn't work. If it's not tactile marketing or automation and it's not orchestrated with your direct digital plans, it's not going to be as effective.
So as I do on each and every show, I give some prescriptions.
Sure.
Dr. His prescriptions. So I came up with 3 nevers for a growing, innovative firm for you guys.
Great.
The first one is never assume the loyalty of your current customer base, you know, and take them for granted, which I'm sure you don't.
Correct.
Second is never believe that PFL is ahead of the competition, because as you know, the minute you think you're way ahead, they're right behind you. And the third one is never think that PFL is always the leader. You are a leader in the industry right now, without question, with your innovation. But you got to keep on innovating and doing the things you guys are doing. So keep it up, because it's impressive.
Correct. Thank you. And we look forward to the high growth that we have here in Indianapolis.
Fantastic. And where can our audience find you guys, Steve?
PFL.com.
Simple. PFL.com.
Yep.
Well, there you have it, Gary. Really a fantastic marketing firm that's doing some great things, even during this pandemic, right here in Indiana.
Later in the podcast, we get e-learning best practices from an expert in the field, and our insiders take on the top stories of the week. But now, a new coffee house on the square around the Johnson County Courthouse in Franklin has a unique mission. Coffeehouse 5's first location in Greenwood helped provide $50,000 worth of counseling in 2018. Co-founder Brian Peters joined Kylie Valletta on the business of health.
Let's talk about first your personal experience and how that really gave birth to your first location of Coffeehouse 5 in Greenwood.
Right. This is not, as I tell people often, necessarily a path that I would have chosen for myself. But some 25, 30 years ago, when I was practicing law, my wife and I had just been married, and I was in full-blown alcoholism. I've been in recovery now for about 25 years, but at that time, in alcoholism, marriage was not in good shape, and eventually we got to the point where we actually thought we were going to divorce. But God intervened, we got into counseling, and after a couple of years, when we finally got to the point that we felt like we were going to make it, we literally had people start to show up on our doorstep and ask for help. At that point, we didn't know what to do other than share our story. But that's what then eventually led me at one point to be asked to join staff at a local church. I got more and more involved in counseling, marriage counseling, addictions counseling. And as I did that, I encountered this big barrier to counseling, which is cost. And so that's what drove us to come up with this idea of running a coffee shop to generate revenue and support and allow us to offer the counseling for free.
So you opened the Franklin location in early March. Tell us, why did you see a need to add the second location?
There are two primary issues that were driving us to increase our revenue. Number one, I counsel only with couples and individual males. I don't counsel with individual females. So we really have a need for a female counselor. The second thing, we often, again, I only do marriage and addictions counseling, and I often have the need to refer people for other forms of mental health counseling. Lots of people come to us because our services are free. When I have the need to refer them, they often can't pay for those services that they need. So we wanted to have a fund available to help subsidize costs of other types of mental health counseling.
So this will help generate more money. Less than 2 weeks, you were open in Franklin, and then coronavirus comes. What has it changed? How are you dealing with this now? Only carry out? I can imagine this is not something you're prepared for, but what has it been like?
It's been a whirlwind. everything has changed. You know, especially as a coffee shop, you know, our big, what we try to do is create this environment that people want to come into and hang out in, and we can't allow them to do that now. And so that's really frustrating and disheartening. But we're doing the best. You know, we've been so encouraged just this week with our community and talking about supporting the local businesses, getting carry out from all of the businesses, which they're doing from us as well. So, you know, we're all in this together.
Right, we're going to get through it together. Indiana, of course, is, you know, experienced the opioid crisis. I think in general, there's also just a bigger emphasis on mental health. Did you see, you know, in the last year or so, has there really been an uptick in demand for mental health services, counseling, and things like that?
It's difficult for us to measure because of the growth of our operation, and as more people become aware that our services are free, we every year see an increase in demand. And so it's a little bit difficult for me to sort out whether it's a demand overall or just a demand, and I know it is a demand for services that are lower cost or obviously free, because again, you know, so many people who need help just can't afford it or don't have the insurance to cover it. But certainly with addictions, we're seeing an increase in need for addictions counseling. And that's only going to increase in a situation like this. You know, two of the big drivers of addiction are isolation and boredom. And those are big issues right now.
Right, absolutely. People are dealing with that in a way that we never have before.
Right.
All right. Thank you so much for coming to the show and telling us about your new location. And I know this too shall pass. And soon we'll be open and back to normal for you, hopefully.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Still to come, perspective on the week's top stories from our panel of insiders. But first, millions of students throughout the United States are now learning from home instead of in the classroom. What are best practices when it comes to distance learning? 1150 Academy Chief Education Officer Jonathan Hewer weighed in on our Eye on Education segment.
First of all, 1150 Coding Academy that has been churning out some great graduates for the last number of years. Give us basically the thumbnail model at 1150.
Yeah, at 1150 we typically use a high-touch model where we teach all of the basic coding skills you need to get an entry-level job or all the cybersecurity skills you need to get an entry-level job in 12 weeks. So it's an incredibly intense experience. And it's been interesting replicating that experience online.
Yeah, I was going to say, you have experienced it firsthand going to the remote. Talk about that process.
Yeah, we saw this coming a couple weeks ago. And so when it was apparent that we needed to make this shift, we took a half-day pause, shifted everything over, and now we've been able to redo this in the online environment. And we get better at it every day. I think that something that's important to remember is we have a really good, very digitally fluent staff. And so it was a lot easier for us than it was for some other schools and districts and universities.
We'll talk about that and some of the things that folks should be thinking about, because you've got businesses on the one hand who have gone to a remote strategy, some bigger companies, maybe a lot more of a seamless transition, but families with young people, kids at home, learning online. A lot of challenges, a lot of new things to kind of grapple with.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the hardest things, you know, for parents who may not be familiar with this is figuring out the difference between, are they struggling with the technology? Are they trying to make the connection? Are they trying to find the right button? Or are they actually struggling in learning, because learning is struggling many times and you have to go slower, faster, different ways. And so as everybody adapts to this new way of learning, it's difficult to figure out, you know, is it an internet connection or is there a legitimate problem?
And as we were talking off camera too, you point out there really are a lot of resources that are available out there.
Yes, yeah, this is not a new thing. It's new to a lot of people, but it's not a new endeavor. Adobe has the Adobe Education Exchange for educators, so there's lesson ideas, there's plans, there's tons of stuff. Apple Swift is a great way to self-learn, so Apple Swift Playgrounds is great. I encourage people to check it out. And then, of course, as everybody just goes through this, we're offering our own boot camp next week online so that people can learn HTML and CSS and, you know, just really take advantage of this opportunity to learn. The resources are out there for everyone involved. We just all have to be a little nice to ourselves.
Yeah, and maybe this could be one of the few silver linings to this really awful situation, but more and more people getting comfortable with remote learning. I noted just 16% of college students were taking exclusively online courses as of 2017, but that number is probably going to continue to go up.
Yeah, and if you think about it right now, it feels like 100% are.
Yeah, right,
so
right.
that's 85% of both teachers and students that are all having to learn in this brand new way. And I think that a lot of people find that it is more challenging to learn remote, but the reality is there's good online classes and there's good distance classes, just like there's good in-person classes. So what everyone's got to do is they have to figure out how to learn in these new ways. Now, that being said, as we move forward to the future, move past our current crisis and struggle, it's a real opportunity for everyone to find all of these great resources that are out there for skill development and really have a way to continue the actual practice of lifelong learning instead of just saying, oh yeah, I'm a lifelong learner.
Yeah.
No, there's great resources out there now online, and I think everybody's, instead of binging Netflix, binge LinkedIn Learning or binge some of these other things that are out there.
Right. Great perspective on e-learning and remote work at home. Dr. Jonathan Hewer is Chief Learning Education Officer at 1150 Academy. Jonathan, thanks as always.
Thank you.
All right.
And finally, our insiders weigh in on the week's top stories, including Indiana companies doing their part in the fight against coronavirus. This week's panel includes IndyPolitics.org publisher Abdul Hakim Shabazz and Indiana Chamber of Commerce Senior Vice President Tom Schuman.
Want to begin this week with winners and losers from the Indiana State House. Going to be talking a lot about coronavirus here. But Tom, I'll start with you. As you look at the Indiana General Assembly just completed session, your big takeaway.
Well, Gary, a couple of things. We reducing or increasing the smoking age from 18 to 21. That was a priority. Of course, federal action took place on that before the state lawmakers came in. But we need to go farther there. We need to increase the cigarette tax. We need to institute a vaping tax, so more to come in 21. Same with healthcare costs. Some initial steps taken, but even the legislators themselves admitted this is a long-term challenge, reducing those costs for employers and employees.
Abdul, as you look at winners and losers, or your big takeaway, really, a short session, didn't seem to be a lot of hot button issues. Your big takeaway.
My big takeaway was actually toward the end, and how there was a really lot of tension between both the House side and the Senate side of things, whether it was legislation regarding Indigo that came out of the Senate, legislation regarding the Attorney General and how he could be removed from office should he lose his law license or be temporarily suspended, and how lawmakers got along so much on so many other things, but those two, there was not a lot of love lost between both the House and the Senate.
Yeah, Tom, I want to go back to you one more time to double check. I think you mentioned this, but the chamber has been so focused on health and health-related issues, smoking, vaping, those issues. You see those as real focus areas for the chamber and the business community going forward?
Absolutely. That'll be one of the areas, summer study and beyond. Energy costs. There was a lot of time spent on a bill this legislative session that didn't really end up doing a whole lot, which proved to be a good thing. But Indiana energy costs used to be amongst the top 5 or 6 best in the country. Now we're middle of the pack. Chamber's doing a study. General Assembly has a task force. So those are a couple areas that'll be the focus moving forward.
Obviously, coronavirus at the top of the news around the globe right now. Here in Indiana, lots we can talk about on this. Governor Holcomb, late in the week, extended the state of emergency in Indiana into May, closing schools into the 1st of May as well. Abdul, I'll start with you. As you look at impacts, so many major events have been either delayed, postponed, or in fact canceled. Lots of impacts on business. Your take as we're really getting into the heart of this situation.
Yeah, I think this past week or so, we are really starting to see what the impact of the steps that are necessary to mitigate the coronavirus, whether it is, once again, so many schools closing across Indiana between now and May, the fact, restaurants, bars, nightclubs, all that economic activity, and then what it rolls into, because remember, when people aren't out spending money, that's less money for the state coffers, that's less money for social services, and it's at a time when government usually needs those funds to help mitigate, some of the damages of these things. So take it. I always say take it seriously, folks, because it is here, and we're nowhere near seeing the end of the light at the end of the tunnel yet.
Yeah, Tom. So many impacts on business when you talk about restaurants and bars closing down, except for carry out and drive through. Essentially, the auto plants, all of them closing at least for a short period of time. Malls closing. As you look at the business impact that is hit now, but could be going on for a while. Your take on where you see this going?
Well, a couple of numbers in terms of workers that the governor and his team shared. A year ago, about 3,000 people filed for unemployment during the course of the week. In 3 days this past week, there were 22,000 people. And that's only going to multiply extensively as we go on. Again, you're right on businesses. Some of the relationships that take place, the supply chain, suppliers and vendors, the relationships there, contracts that are going to be impacted. You had Matt Will on talking about some of these impacts. They're going to be widespread, and what is so challenging is we don't know when the end date is. If we were sitting here looking at a 30-day period and then things were going to kind of go back to normal, we could deal with it, but we don't know when that turning point's going to be where things will start to return to normal.
Yeah, Tom, I'll start with you on this, but you had mentioned it off camera a little while ago that we're seeing businesses step up in a lot of ways. Certainly Roche with getting out these testing kits in record time, 400,000 a week producing, coming out of, from a distribution standpoint, Indianapolis. Eli Lilly and Company, the State Department of Health, combining to increase testing. Business in many ways, it's been nice to see folks collaborate and step up here.
Absolutely, Gary. It's not surprising at all. This is what we would expect in Indiana, that businesses would do whatever they can. And it's not only the big companies, it's small organizations, and anything from supporting the nonprofits, supporting the local restaurants. You know, a company might send a lunch over to the local hospital, to the ER, to take care of that staff that's working so hard. So again, having businesses do this, one of the great things about being in Indiana, we're sure that's going to continue.
Abdul, on the political side, at least if you look at the national level, there seems to be a level of cooperation or collaboration, kind of some good faith efforts to work together. Do you think that is going to last very long? There's been so much political division. Do you think that can be an outgrowth of this pandemic?
Well, if one of the effects of the coronavirus is more bipartisanship people working together, then can we have another one, please? I mean, just be honest with you. No, it is good to see.
Maybe a milder version.
Yeah, maybe a milder version, because my wife will take the milder version to get me out of the house and away from her half the time. Yeah, no, I think it's good when lawmakers can come together, put aside their partisan differences and actually work to get something done. We have that here. In Indiana, Democrats have made some suggestions about what the government should do. The Holcomb administration, by design or default, looks like they're listening. So, I always say for every one person we see on television hoarding toilet paper, there's somebody out there who is doing the right thing, for their fellow human beings.
I'll start with you on this, Abdul, but I don't want to give grades on this, but as you look at the approach the state, Governor Holcomb, the administration has taken, and the steps they've taken, some pretty substantial steps, how would you assess the response at the state level, at least, to the pandemic?
I think where we are right now, I give the Holcomb administration A-, B+. There's always a little bit of room for improvement, but at the same time, we are in uncharted territory. We've never had something like this before. I mean, even I guess the best you could cope is maybe shortly after 9/11, we had that sort of period of uncertainty. But I would say at least right now, with the pandemic that we're seeing, I give them A-, B+.
Tom, your take on the response?
It's interesting, Gary, and Dr. Box, our state health commissioner, explained this the other day in a call with our chamber executive committee. Indiana was fortunate we were not one of the first states that suffered the impacts of this. That was the good news. The bad news was the same thing. That means we had less access to some of these testing kits and some of the resources that are being used nationally. But I agree with Abdul. The state is doing a great job. They've outlined, they're moving aggressively. They're doing things, taking steps to help, not only business, but Hoosiers and citizens adapt as best they can.
15 seconds, but Tom, real quickly, what are Indiana businesses, small and large, what are they going to need going forward?
Well, we encourage, there's so many organizations out there helping. We encourage people to go to our chamber, to a resource page. We're linking them to all that information. It's just the support, and they just need things to get back as close to business as normal as soon as possible.
Tom Schuman with the Indiana Chamber of Commerce, Senior Vice President of Communications and Operations. Abdul Hakim Shabazz, a publisher at IndyPolitics.org.
That wraps up this week's Inside Indiana Business Television podcast. Remember, you can find all of this week's TV segments, as well as the top business news from throughout the state, at InsideIndianaBusiness.com. While you're there, you can also subscribe to our platform of free e-newsletters. This is Andy Ober for Inside Indiana Business.